First, we discovered Gaia, the god of creation, and our suspicions that she had been taken by a dark new being named Varen. Next, we looked at how Varen may not be all that new at all, in fact an invading force from a distant planet or dimension, arriving in a meteor that drastically changed the landscape of the world. From there, his void magic began to seep into Orbis, that's the world, and infect races such as the human Outlanders, which began to worship, practice with, and then become addicted to the power of void, causing them all to either go slightly insane or sacrifice each other by tearing their own hearts out in a resurrection ritual that most times didn't end well. Then we looked at how as a player it will be your job to take up the mantle as the Orbis officer of the world, being able to forge your own path with morality and choices between factions. Who would you want to help? Well, the Kweebec faction, because they have the strongest connection to our lost Gaia of all, and their music could have magical powers. Yeah, that's a whole thing. Meanwhile, in the deserts, the Skywars may well have imprisoned their own empress in a war of slavery, oppression, and evolution. We spoke about the world height for a bit, and then we took a dive into the idea of alternate realities. With a large bulk of what's currently on offer in terms of Hytale lore dealt with, let's take a moment to tie up some loose ends that may have sprung up along the way. Welcome back to Kweebec Corner. My name is Connor, and today on Hytale Theory Talk, rather than cover one big topic, we discuss, well, let's call it a collection of mini-theories. 3 smaller mysteries that don't exactly demand an entire video to themselves, but remain pretty substantial all things considered. We've been told that we will be able to play as elves in Hytale, so where are they? And who are they? Come to think of it, why are the Trorks always portrayed as the bad guys? What's the deal with that? Maybe they just want to find a place to call home. And let's discuss the strange and obvious connection between the only 2 currently revealed in-game characters, Gaia's Grade A Orbis officer Tessa, and Varen's #1 bad boy Kyros, because something tells me there's more to them than meets the eye. The running theme for this series of mini-theories is identity. Everyone in Orbis has a place, a role to play, but oftentimes it isn't so clear-cut what people's true intentions are. You can find timestamps to today's 3 theories in the description. Where are the elves from? Hytale is set to have multiple playable races. That means not just humans, we can load up the game and swap to a different body type, like a Kweebec or even a Trork, similar to World of Warcraft. It may even be more like morphing. You spawn as a human and transform like a druid or shapeshifter. We could try and guess at what the pool of races will be for hours, whether it will expand to all the factions like the hostile Outlanders or enslaved Ferens, but what we know for sure is that elves are set to be amongst the few. Confirmed way back in an older blog post, elves were showcased as a mysterious and distant race. People have already commented on how few non-player humans we've seen, but elves? They're another story entirely. Elves have only been spotted a total of 5 times as far as I've been able to count. At the start of the trailer, the end of the trailer, during the live video segment, in a blog post image, and on the very thumbnail of the trailer, fighting the ice dragon. The geographical heritage of the elves is all but unknown, but we see that a majority prefer to wield magic through a staff. Magic in Hytale is based on the 6 elements of nature: earth, wind, fire, water, lightning, and void. The glowing green here represents the earth element, symbolized by the sprouting leaves, and the bluish hue for this staff symbolizes the water element. We then see the elf summon a giant ice spike spell, and the icy decoration on the staff pretty much confirms that one. We've seen fire-based weapons and even void-infused weapons too, so maybe the elves are masters of this craft. Another race that were very close to nature, and were experienced, nay skilled, in wielding each natural element. Notice also that those few elves we have seen are player characters, not NPCs. We've yet to see where they herald from, but could that be because the team don't want us to? Are the elven lands hidden within portals, concealed behind some sort of invisible force field? Maybe they're high up in the skies in magical floating islands? Or are they all but wiped out, left to history, leaving you, the player, as one of the few rare survivors of a soon-to-be extinct race? Varen's first victims, so to speak. I mean, if I were to attack a planet, I'd definitely want to take out the race with the most competence in wielding power that could stop me too. Kweebecs and elves may actually get along pretty well, come to think of it, but unlike the firefly-loving treehouse Kweebecs, elves are a far from simple race. Historically, there's as much, if not more, complexity in elven races than there are humans in many games and story narratives. Pop culture sees elves as wise and ethereal, somewhat magical and in tune with nature, although occasionally they can also be portrayed in a darker light. Perhaps some elves are good, some are bad. Perhaps their very division is what drove them to be so scarce. Maybe we can figure this all out by looking at the other races that have been revealed so far. Specific groups are considered factions, which makes them different from normal mobs. They will have a specific standing or reputation that the player can work to build up. Hytale clearly want to make these guys in particular stand out. And you'll notice something funny here. Zone 1 has the Kweebecs and the Trorks, Zone 2 the Skywars and the Ferens, Zone 3 the Outlanders and theorized Fauns, Zone 4 the Slothians and, well, that next one's yet to be revealed. It could be skeletons or even the general undead. But are you seeing the pattern? There's 2 for each zone. Usually it's pretty clear cut who the good guy and bad guy is for each region, so that makes me excited to see where elves will appear, either in Zone 5's lightning theme or Zone 6's void. If Varen truly did attack and wipe out the elves, then that could be ground zero. That could mean they originated from what Zone 6 used to look like. Or, my personal theory, the elves are hiding somewhere in Zone 5. Lightning is interesting after all. Thinking of that element represented by terrain, I come to the conclusion that it will either be giant mountain peaks that reach the stormy skies, or a zone with floating islands, something we all want and love, held afloat by some sort of gravitational field. These islands could be where the elves used to live, perhaps even where they still live for all we know, but there's just not enough to go on to tell much more. Maybe in time we'll come to find that there is no home for the elves. Long forgotten, the survivors may just now scour all the zones equally in search of a new homeland. Could Trorks actually be good? Speaking of homelands, in World of Warcraft, the lore behind the orcs is that they actually came from a different planet entirely, through a giant portal. You know, the one that's like always on the login screen and featured in like a bunch of promotional ads for the game. It's obviously far more convoluted and complex than that, but long story short, the orcs were seeking refuge, escaping war and harsh conditions, attempting to find a new home when they stumbled across Azeroth and the lands of the humans through an intergalactic portal. Traveling through it, they did find a new home, but also more war. Considered invaders, they were attacked, and some would even say misunderstood. Hence the morality of World of Warcraft's factions being constantly debated by die-hard fans. This all got me to thinking about the Trorks. These are the big mean green guys we've seen plenty of in Zone 1. They're always angry, stomping about, and they're an inspired combination of both orcs and trolls. But where do they come from? Like, in the game world, where did they originate? I mean, these guys look cool, but their settlements don't necessarily look too permanent. And I almost feel sorry for how hard I'm going to bully these guys when playing the game, what with me being an obvious fan of the Kweebec, but with a reputation system meaning you can be morally sympathetic towards the Trorks, maybe there's more to be understood here, another side of the story. Hear me out, humans have these big castles and ancient ruins, Kweebecs have treehouse towns, Ferens have got little sand villages, even the Skywars have big mound-like structures. So why are the Trorks always on the move? Why are the Trorks settlements always so flimsy? Tents, wooden spikes as walls? Maybe it's because they've got tiny pea brains or something, but I'm thinking maybe it's because the Trorks are always on the move, looking for a nice spot in the Emerald Grove to call home. They just also happen to like the taste of Kweebecs too. If that's the case, where did the Trorks come from? Were they displaced? Were they created? Did they actually travel from another planet similar to in Warcraft? Say maybe Karpak? Or am I being a crackpot theorist again? You let me know in the comments and I'll wrap this one up. Are Kyros and Tessa related? This is a great question to ask and leads us down a whole tunnel of theories that I sadly just don't have any solid answers to right now. If you've been subscribed to the channel for a while, you'll remember we covered both of these primary characters back when we discussed Orbis officers. We mentioned that they both clearly wear Orbis officer armor, with one representing a valiant protector of the peace, that being Tessa, and a more maleficent, chaotic character on the other hand, the masked Kyros. We've discussed their connection to Gaia and Varen, why they may be at opposing odds, but we haven't really discussed their relationship to each other. I mean, let's think about this logically. Kyros and Tessa were both once Orbis officers. We know this because they both share identical sets of pretty official looking armor, and the alternate versions of their concept art share a sword and helmet design. So it's possible they both knew each other, maybe even served together once in the past, protecting the realm and all that good stuff. At some point, Kyros clearly said heck no and yeeted out of there. That or he was swayed over by the dark magics of Varen and the Void. Either way, at some point there was clearly a conflict between these two, a central divide between ideals. I mean, why else would they share the same concept art panel? They're adversaries, arch enemies, yin and yang, good and bad. Their rivalry is portrayed in the very way they were introduced to us by the team. Not only that, but the characters themselves share an eye colour, a detail that isn't to be overlooked, especially in character design. Even more especially when you have two pivotal characters, the only ones to be revealed thus far. Could Tessa and Kyros be related? Could their bitter animosity come from sibling rivalry of the past? And is Tessa fighting to help her brother, or to stop him? Like I said, there are many questions, but sadly no answers, and the Hytale team clearly like it that way, at least for now. Some have theorized that Tessa is Kyros herself. Perhaps Tessa was who Kyros used to be before being corrupted. What has Kyros' turn to the dark side got to do with the Outlanders, and their choice to abandon the humans in favour of Baron? Could Kyros have inspired their cause? And most importantly, what does Kyros look like? Is he still human? Is he undead? Or has he been warped and manipulated by the dark magics he was so willing to serve? Only time will tell. Hopefully you've enjoyed this rundown of mini-theories. I'll definitely do another one once some ideas are sparked up. At the moment I'm actually working on a Halloween themed theory video that covers more of the spookier side of the game, so make sure to look out for that one. On the off chance that you're new here and, well, haven't caught up on the theories, then what are you thinking? You need to go back and catch up. There's so much you've missed, and Hytale is getting closer every day. On the other hand, if you want to jump right in and discuss theories, game features, and general gaming nerdiness with thousands of Hytale enthusiasts such as yourself, then join the Kweebec Corner Discord server, link in the description. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and thanks as always for watching Kweebec Corner. Stay safe and keep free.